Now I'm going to talk a little bit about a couple of other things, and then we'll open it up for some questions. We've got like 15 more minutes. So, I mean, if you could just explain in a clear way to the 300 companies in the world that you think would be the perfect customers, and do it simultaneously in an interactive way to the point where that executive purely understands what you do. Wouldn't that be awesome? I mean, the noise in the market is so hard to get the good technologies out there. So noisy, so many competitors. I mean, this startup game, boy, it's a tricky game. I thought it was competitive 20 years ago when I did it. I was like, damn, it's competitive. It's competitive. So translating your growth strategy into a growth architecture is really critical, because a growth strategy is squishy and is an icky word. But if you approach things properly, you can have a architecture which is concrete. It's physical world. It's real. There are traffic sources you can begin to use. The inbound, outbound question. Like I said, I believe video sales letters are the linchpin to all of it, and I would be surprised if any of you guys have a sales letter that is the one I'm talking about, because this is one where you literally spend time understanding those fundamental core beliefs that you have to change, and then really scripting out, addressing that executive's needs, seeing the whites of their eyes when you're presenting it to them, and then adapting it so that you get closer to what they need. And then this question of inbound versus outbound and how those two interplay. So I think that the mechanism for getting from these two things is taking the knowledge that's in your heads and in your most important people's heads, getting it into some content that can be pre-located. In other words, you can get that content into the face of that prospect. Using your inbound as a way of tuning, and then using your outbound as a way of tuning, and your inbound as a way of scaling. So to me, these are the molecule. This is the most basic building blocks of, and there's a similar one on the product side. If you put those two together, to me, that's the perfect widget to be acquired by another company or to be used by another company. So there's lots of traffic sources. There's the stuff that we typically are doing in the beginnings of our project around outbound. There's channel partners. Channel partners are great as long as you keep that, that direct side of the sales process. So you know what your customers need. And I talked to well, Pavel, we had a chat last night, about the Russian dolls. I use the Russian dolls analogy, but the idea of, if you're selling a chip into a device and device into a solution, and the solution guys at the consulting firm are the ones interacting with the customer, it's tricky, because you're a couple steps removed from that customer. And I know that I'm not explaining it right, so you'll correct me later. But this idea of having partners is a blessing and a curse. So you need to have both. Getting into your organic, your content development, your organic social media, your paid, et cetera. So there's a bunch of ways of doing it. And I just want to acknowledge those things. But in our view, building out those unpacking and testing assumptions, identifying those unique usable insights, and then repacking it and pre-locating it so you can start to trigger the buyer is what you're wanting to get to. And again, I view the video sales letter, which I'm not going to go into the details of today, but I'd be happy to sit down and talk to you. It's a little bit of an infomercial style thing, but it's pretty effective. And then this ends up spinning into all of the other types of conversion mechanisms you have. So, inside sales, so people that are selling but not, on the road. Outside sales, email marketing, all of those sort of automations you have for remarketing and marketing, your landing pages and your communities. All of these things need to be consistent with what this first blueprint does. And if you do it that way, then you will be, really effective. So I believe video sales letters, again, are the backbone for your conversion mechanisms. And a single video can give you 6 months of wonderful content in terms of micro videos and other things. So you again can read this stuff later. It's more of a scaffolding.